Hey, what's up you guys? This is Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, and today on the rundown we're gonna get real wild when we kick off our first installment of the Kubrow miniseries. Now, I have to specify that this is a non-sexual three-way special because this one involves Kubrows, so in order to ensure that we don't confuse it with bestiality, we're gonna make sure that's very clear from the start. However, these lovely furballs have captured our hearts, and I definitely felt like they needed a closer look. Now, it was definitely really important for me to get a feel of how each of these played, so I've leveled all of them up to 30 and can accurately report all of my feels back to you guys. So let's start off with our cuddly covert, the Hurus. The Hurus' unique skills make it the most mobile of the bunch, using stock to invis the two of you in order for a strategic engagement with enemy units, while Hunt performs the Kubrow's version of a slash dash, and is capable of dealing damage to all enemies in its path. Now, there are definitely a few things to keep in mind with the Hurus. While it does have the highest base shields of all of the pups, it also has the lowest base health, meaning that once its shields are down, you won't have much time before your Hurus hits the floor. However, with a max stock, your Hurus does use it fairly frequently, usually keeping it out of harm's way. Now, while we're on the stock topic, note that your Hurus can attack repeatedly while it's in Viz, as well as use Hunt without breaking stealth. However, you cannot. The second you attack, you will drop stealth from the both of you, so if your Hurus needs to regain its shields a little bit, just sit back and let the stealthy little bastard go on a rampage. So as Warframes go, I'm actually not a big fan of pairing the Hurus up with a Warframe that uses a stealth build. Now, to some of you that might make a lot of sense, to others it might make no sense whatsoever. But in my eyes, this is kind of how it works. When you're playing an extended duration stealth build, you tend to be a little less cautious about rushing into piles of enemies, and are most likely running and gunning, or slashing and dashing, not to be confused with the Excalibur ability. But the issue here is that the Hurus' Hunt ability does have a bit of a delay as your pup is preparing to pounce, which means if you've already barreled through the enemy, it's just going to be lagging behind. Now, as for frames that the Hurus pairs well with, I'm extremely fond of using mine with a non-stealth melee-focused frame, or a build that uses closer ranged weaponry like shotguns. It uses stock quite frequently and allows you to close the gap without much repercussion. Plus, being within melee range is always great if you need to top your Hurus' health bar off with a few melee whacks when you've got Pack Leader equipped. Now, let's move on to our brilliant bodyguard, the Raksa. From the most mobile to the least mobile, the Raksa provides an immense amount of utility, using Howl to terrify your enemies and cause them to run scared, while Protect restores your shields when they drop. The Raksa is definitely the best support Kubrow of the bunch, but does trade away its offensive potential. It's got a well-balanced allotment of health and shields, and combined with Howl, can easily keep itself healthy. Just note that when it does trigger Howl or Protect, it will stand in place and pulse out its shiny Kubrow magic, allowing you to spot it fairly easily, which does make this Kubrow a little less stressful to use as compared to some of the other breeds. The combination of abilities is amazing when it comes to protecting pods, popping oxygen, and resurrecting teammates, and is also quite handy for any holidays that require fireworks. Now, when it comes down to synergy, I must say that this pairs quite well with builds that favor mid to long range weapons, or frames that frequently use ranged skills, as your pup will use Growl fairly often, causing many enemy units to run in terror, meaning that you're either going to have to chase them down or shoot them down, and honestly, I'd prefer the latter. However, if you choose to go down the melee route, Protect does work quite nicely to save your butt in sticky situations. Just be prepared to do a little extra running when your Roxa throws its howl out. Okay, now it's time for our little digger, the Sahasa. With one of the most charming abilities of the bunch, the Sahasa is an oddly sweet mix of lethality and levity, combining the throat-ripping viciousness of Kujo when it uses ferocity to take down an enemy unit, then quickly running off to dig up some hidden treasure, barking at us Lassie style to show us what our little pup has found. Now, while it's definitely not as aggressive as some of the other breeds, the Sahasa can definitely hold its own in a fight. Sporting the highest base health of all the Kubrow, as long as you keep an eye on him, he's definitely a tough target to take down. Now, let's talk about Dig real quick. Dig scrounges up 2 random items that can range from ammo packs to health and energy orbs, and even the occasional mod. Yes, this does include rare mods. In general, you'll notice Dig most often used at the beginning or end of missions, or in between waves of interception or defense. And the big reason behind that is that Dig will not trigger if either of the following conditions are true. Number 1, if there are any enemies nearby, or number 2, if there are any alert enemies on the map. The entire map. So be sure to clear your area and reset any alarms if you're intent on letting your pup go on a major digging spree. Okay, so while it's an adorable idea, its practical usage is few and far between. While it can dig up some oxygen when you're on a survival map, the qualifiers for its use are extremely limiting. But it's so cute! With the barking and the digging, right? So when it comes down to pairings, honestly, the only place where I see the Sahasa in its current incarnation being feasible is in extended defense and interception missions when resources run low, especially if you're running a weapon with poor ammo efficiency. Or you could just be Mirage and blow up all the extra ammo packs. See, it's the fun Kubrow! Alrighty, last but definitely not least is the daring and deadly Sunika. Now, while the Sahasa was a combination of cute and vicious, the Sunika is pure Kujo. Its aggression matches that of the Hurus but trades its dashes for savagery, the Sunika's version of a takedown, which seems to be its specialty since its second ability, Unleashed, is capable of incapacitating VIP targets. So, savagery is quite simple and acts exactly like the Sahasa's ferocity, latching onto an enemy momentarily and dealing a chunk of heavy damage. While the enemy is staggered, you can also join in and throw in a couple of blows of your own. Now, the Sunika's second ability, Unleashed, is a lot more specialized, only activating in capture missions. Once the VIP is spotted, your Sunika will gain a sudden burst of speed, charging ahead and bringing the capture target to the ground. Now, there does seem to be a damage over time component once they hit the floor, but I can't tell if that's the ability or if that's just our bloodthirsty little Sunika. While this is very niche, it's quite nice not having to worry about your target running off while you attempt to dodge incoming bullets. Okay, now I know for a fact that there will be a small group of you saying, "What about bosses? I've seen them taken down before and they're referred to as VIP targets." Well, after some long, painful, and very repetitive testing, I can confirm that it's actually savagery that is staggering bosses and not Unleashed. I isolated both abilities and the staggers only occurred when savagery was equipped. Unleashed also has a telltale XP gain of 200 when it's used, and did not activate once on any of the bosses. Now, after all of that extensive testing, I have actually grown very fond of the Sunika. While its aggression level is quite intense and can pull it away from you and potentially put itself into danger, it's actually quite well suited for stealth play. I do slightly hesitate to pair the Sunika up with longer ranged builds or extremely squishy frames with no way to dodge the damage, because these pups have a tendency to run off in a bloodthirsty rampage, and they may put themselves in a very difficult place to be resuscitated. So that brings the rundown section of our Kubrow miniseries to a close, but believe you me, there is still far more to discuss. Now overall, I am very happy with the new little buggers, much more so than I thought I would when they were first announced. Not only do they pack a serious punch and provide some welcome utility in the battlefield, but they also give the game some additional personality that it was lacking. So thank you all for watching the first installment of the Kubrow non-sexual 3-way special. Be sure to check out the other videos when they launch. Don't forget to do the thing that I ask you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, stay tuned for more cute and cuddly content here at A Gay Guy Plays. See, this is what happens when you don't let me prime first. Are you satisfied with yourself?